Okay, now we're going to create a document in Photoshop that we're going to use to create our website. So in Photoshop, let us open up a new file, and let's say our website is going to be 960 pixels wide. Now the reason that's an important number is because it's basically industry standard. But even better than that, go ahead, create a width 600 by 480 just to begin with. And now, if you double click the ruler, if you don't see your ruler, you can do a Command R. But double click the ruler, go to Guides, Grid, and Slices, and make sure that the grid every 80 pixels in subdivisions 1. When you do that and you hit Command quotation mark, you can see that your 960 wide graphic is divided up into 12 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If you design by the 12 column grid system, your work becomes very easy. So let's create a new layer, and we're going to create the header. Let's make the header 2 rows down, and because we know that these are 80 pixel squares, we know that the header is going to be 160 pixels. So I don't know, let's do something in brown, I guess. So if I fill the top with brown, and I'm going to do the footer on the same layer. Remember, Option Delete will fill it with what is in the foreground color. Command Delete will fill with what is in the background color. Okay, now let me see. I'm going to create a couple button bars. I think maybe some kind of gray might be in order. So let's make the pixels, or the column, 2 columns, and then maybe on the other side 3 columns. So, and then I'm going to reduce the opacity a little bit here. Alright, and Command quotation mark will get rid of the grid so you can see exactly what we're doing. Another thing I kind of like to do is I like to select all, Command A, create a new layer, and maybe put a stroke on it. Edit, stroke, let's make it 3 pixels on the inside. There, so it puts a stroke completely around the graphic on its own layer. So we have the stroke around the edge, we have the header and the footer, and we have the columns. Okay, let's see, I'm just going to type something really quick so you can see how this works. I will call this Moose Blue Designs. Uh-oh. I'll just make it a little bit bigger. I'm only doing this really quick because you're probably already familiar enough with Photoshop that this is not part of the design process we're trying to show here. I'm just going to do something really quick so you can see how it all lays out. Okay, that'll be fine. See, isn't that a wonderful design? Okay, now I'm going to start cutting up into pieces. So I'm going to go back to my layers palette and click the uppermost layer and click a new layer, so that I now have a blank layer on top of everything. Now, holding Command Option Shift E, I can put all those layers on one. It sort of combines all those layers underneath it, all the visible layers, onto one layer. That's going to allow me to cut this up, and while I'm cutting I'm going to get all the layers. So I'm going to put the command quotations back up so I can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to cut, I'm going to highlight with the marquee the very top layer, or my header. Then I'm going to do Command C, Command N, return, and Command V, and that gives me the header. So I'm going to go File, Save for the web, and I'm going to call, make sure it's JPEG. I'm going to hit Save. I'm going to find our spotted mouse directory. I'm going to call a header, H-E-A-D-E-R. There it is, header. Then I can close that because I saved it, and I don't save it. Okay, now the next one is going to go completely across. The columns, the content area is all one rectangle. And I'm going to do the same thing. Command C, Command N, return, and Command V. And I'm going to call this, and save for the web. Save. And I'm going to call it BG. Okay, now that being saved, I can close this and don't save. Now my footer, I'm going to make sure, even though the orange doesn't go all the way up to the grid, I'm going to save that grid because I know that that is going to be 80 pixels high. So Command C, Command N, return, Command V. See how there's an orange and yet there's part of the columns in the background. That's okay. As long as the point here is that this is going to be 80 pixels high. So File, Save for the web, save, and we're going to call it footer. Okay. So now I have in my assets, if I refresh, I should see my working file and my background, my footer, and my header.